Danny Frank for GNAT-TV. J.K. Adams is a Dorset, Vermont-based second-generation family-owned company, which is a significant employer in southwestern Vermont, and it's celebrating its 80th anniversary in 2024. So I want to welcome Malcolm Cooper Jr., a family member principal, together with Adam Sigel, the CEO of J.K. Adams. Malcolm, give us a little history lesson. Who exactly is J.K. Adams, and how was this enterprise first established?
Josiah Knowles Adams was a banker in New York whose daughter went to Bennington College and son went to Dartmouth. And if you draw a line between Dartmouth and Bennington and you're driving to visit your two kids in college, you end up going through Dorset. And he liked Dorset. Dorset's always been a beautiful town with an artistic community. And he thought this would be an interesting place to maybe spend some time. And this is right in the end of World War II. So a lot of people were reinventing themselves. And he saw an opportunity to maybe change his life. And so through, a combination of serendipitous events, a woodworking company up in Brandon, Vermont had burned down. Lots of woodworking companies burned down because they're full of wood and not much fire protection. And they had a couple products that people wanted to buy, but they weren't going to rebuild. And he heard about this, so he set up in a two-car garage some simple machines and started making the Speedy Racer, which was a little simple wooden toy that you pull with a string for kids. But remember, coming out of World War II, the whole country had been focused on war production, and woodworking included. So there was a big shortage of kids' toys. So that was the first product that we all learned about. He set up shop in this two-car garage right across from the Dorset Cemetery and started building the Speedy Racer and a number of other products that, nothing specific, lawnmower handles, wooden T-squares for draftsmen, and, set up a business. That there's a great picture in front of the Barrows house, 5 guys in raccoon coats having the first board of directors meeting on a cold February night in Dorset. So that's how it started.
So Adam Sigel, J.K. Adams, of course, is very famous for manufacturing its fine quality wood cutting boards. And describe the process for us, how the team selects the wood. Sure. And what goes into these cutting boards and how the boards are made.
So back, when Malcolm starts, we in the 50s and 60s, even the 70s, we had a rough mill and we were building from a tree to the board. Now we've cut a little bit of the process out, and we work with the best North American sustainably harvest hardwoods, cherry, maple, and walnut, primarily a little bit of ash. And like in cooking, to make something great, you need great ingredients. So we really do have the best raw materials going into it. Sprinkle a little bit of Vermont labor, and that's how the wood turns into a beautiful finished cutting board.
And I also saw on your website, you folks nowadays are big on sustainability and not wasting wood.
Yeah. So just a little bit about that. Nothing really gets wasted. So we make, and for 50 years, we've made this beautiful wine rack, and it's made with dowels. And when we cut the little pieces left over, they're like kindling for our heating of the plant. We actually have 2 wood furnaces, one on the north and one on the south, and we use anything that's left over for wood to heat the building. And then the sawdust actually gets put together, and a farmer out in Pollitt has a trucking company. He picks up the sawdust and brings it to other farmers that they use for the animals for bedding. Yeah. So nothing gets wasted at all at J.K. Adams.
So in general, for sustainability for manufacturers, Can it be achieved? Is it a big challenge to overcome, or can it be done?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge because you end up with like packaging, for example, plastic bags there's no real way around that, and we haven't found a way around that because if we just put a belly band around it, it doesn't lock in the oils. So we sometimes use plastic for shrink wrapping and bags, and we're still looking really, Danny. It's a goal, okay, to not have any waste. That's about the only thing that I can come up with that I really haven't figured out yet to work around. Other than that, there's not a lot of waste at J.K. Adams from recycling the bottles and reusing the cardboard boxes. The packing material, when someone ships to us, we ship it back out using the same materials. Yes, it saves money, but it's also great on the environment that we're not, throwing it away and buying new.
And I think just on the sustainability subject, we're using trees that are grown in New England, cut down to make room for more trees to grow, turning them into products. And, indirectly, we're keeping local loggers, local truckers, local forest management people all in business, all coming from within a couple 100-mile radius of our building.
So as part of that,
Mm-hmm.
have you guys become experts in trees and knowledge of trees? And
I was a tree farmer of the year a couple of years ago, so I've spent 50 years buying trees, growing trees, even though we don't grow our own trees and cut them anymore. It's been sort of a hobby of mine. So I know a little bit about it. I'm not a certified forester, but I can identify most of the hardwood trees, whether they're standing or lying in a saw getting ready to be cut. I can tell you what the wood is.
so, Malcolm and Adam, there are a number of other products that J.K. Adams offers related to the kitchen and home entertaining, and I'm sure you could tell me about some of those, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about J.K. Adams, and a lot of folks in this area know us as the kitchen store at J.K. Adams, they go and they shop. So there's things that we make in the factory. There's things that we make in the factory for ourselves under J.K. Adams brand. There's things that we make in the factory that go out to other retailers like Crate and Barrel and Williams-Sonoma and Sur La Table that have their names on them. So talking about maybe stepping back in general, we sell the best products for the kitchen in general, okay? From the best cookware from brands like Heston and Made In to Bennington Potters if you want to get some plates and mugs to our great woodworking product. So from the woodworking product, it's cutting boards and mostly like flat boards, like carving boards, which was created at J.K. Adams. Malcolm's got a great story of the carving of the turnabout board. And then we also sell J.K. Adams rolling pins that win a lot of awards. Best rolling pin in the world.
But even in carving boards, there's different categories of carving boards for different functions and different purposes, right?
I think the story of the board you use on Thanksgiving, if you don't mind, Malcolm could really tell us a great story.
Fire away.
Unfortunately, my memory has slipped the name of the fellow that was a retired engineer, and he had come up with this idea that when you put a roast on a board, it tends to roll around. So being a machinist engineer, he just made a V groove in the bottom of a big thick board. And if you put a roast or a turkey or a fowl, anything that's not flat, it sort of cradles it. It's the same way a machinist would try to hold a round pipe or rod if they were trying to drill a hole in it, so it doesn't roll around. So we worked with him, but that makes it sort of a hard board to use if you just want a flat surface to carve a steak on. So we just turned the board over and used the other side. We called it, because we're so inventive, we called it the turnabout board. And for many years, we paid him a little royalty for his design. He was our biggest fan. And it's, starting with my father, our designs have always been form follows function. First, it has to be something that's useful and does a good job. And if that works, it'll be attractive. And not so much, we don't design things just because they look cool. We want them to be a functional product. We've designed wine racks because we want to store wine bottles effectively. We've come up with knife blocks and various products over the years that were answering a need in your kitchen or your home.
Well, Adam, through 80 years of J.K. Adams, there's certainly been an evolution of kitchen culture, technology advances in the kitchen. So how does J.K. Adams interface with those competitive challenges?
So part of the benefit of being a manufacturer is that we have access to the best kitchen stores, like I said, Williams Sonoma, Crate and Barrel. They're coming with a lot of information over what's trending. So even though it starts off with us making boards for them, we certainly learn a lot of what people are looking for. So like things that have over the last few years that we've done, like we added a groove in a board that you could put an iPad. So if you were cooking and you were following the recipe, you could slide your iPad or iPhone into that groove. Now, it was kind of a fad. It lasted 5 years or so. We don't really do much with it these days, but just sort of staying up on trend. So that's an example.
And does J.K. Adams have any role in today's commercial kitchens and in restaurants?
But not a lot with that. It's mostly some folks here in the Vermont area. It's that in the middle, the celebrity kitchens, like what you guys do here in studio. Food 52 is that in the world of kitchen. They're probably the best known, and they're out there in New York, and we are a huge partner for them. They came up and filmed, had a film crew come up and watch how the products were made, and in studio they use a lot of our products.
I know that for a number of years, J.K. Adams has offered custom-made, commemorative, personalized products. If there's a particular organization, let's say a theme or a special purpose, how does that work? If there's a organization that wants a special identity board of some sort.
So what we can do is we can take the image of the logo or even a photograph or as much detail as they were able to provide and convert it into a lasered, burned into the wood. So you could have a logo on a piece of wood, and it was good business for us. We had a machine that could do it, and we added a second machine. And then just recently, we added a third machine and a fourth machine that can travel. So if we wanted to go to an event, like if we wanted to go to a grand opening of a store, and we have one that can actually fit in the back of a car, and it's at our new store that we just opened in Saratoga right now. We went and did it on site. So from personalization to logos to anything that somebody wanted on the board, we can create it, and for a nominal upcharge, people can have something that's got their logo. So we do a lot for real estate agents, for a lot of companies that want to have a gift or a like a swag bag for an event. We're able to provide that, and it's become a real important part of our business.
Wedding gifts,
wedding favors, and then the wedding gift, we can put the bride and groom's name, and if they have a customized monogram, the date of the event. We just did one at the Barrow's house where it had the couple's name, the date, and Dorset, Vermont on it. And they can keep and cherish that forever.
I like the one where we did the whole wedding invitation. Price was no option. We did like 150 boards of some sort with the whole invitation on the board. So you get the invitation, you can use it as a board. I want to add also, we have the ability to carve with our computer controlled, we have these big milling machines, so we can actually carve in, logos or initials in a board if somebody would prefer, rather than just burning.
Now, is a board just a board, or are there boards that are collector's items, and there's antique boards, and give me some education on that.
Well, boards are, there's a lot of different components that go into the boards, and a lot of it you can't see and you're unaware of. One of the problems that we have with our boards at J.K. Adams is they never wear out. They don't fall apart. That makes it a little hard because people don't come back in 5 years. They bring in boards that have cracked and say, very rarely one of ours cracks or splits and we replace it. But then people bring in boards that come from another manufacturer and say, can you replace this? And I We generally do, but
Hmm.
the boards, if they're well made, they generally will last. And if they're takes a little bit of maintenance. You got to keep them, don't put them in the dishwasher and keep them oiled and clean. They last, they'll last forever. In fact, people, the more use they have, the more sort of cuts and skid marks on them, the more attractive they become, and people collect them and pass them down generation to generation.
So a chef or a cook who's used that board and all of the cutting and chopping they did on that board, do they develop an affinity for it that
I think
this is part of them and
totally.
all of the role and purpose of that.
Martha Stewart has a collection of boards that she's gone all over the world, I assume, and bought them at tag sales and pawn shops, boards that have been used. And we've even tried to duplicate that look, but it's never quite the same as a
The art,
board that's.
yeah.
So does a chef have their favorite board that they want to have with them
Assuming
when
they're
they're,
not a
when
chef,
they're
but
cooking or
I
have
think
you?
I think they do.
Yeah.
There is one, and I'm just totally straightforward. One problem in a big commercial kitchen, the sanitary regulations require that a lot of things be put in a high temperature dishwasher, and wooden boards don't do well in that. So in some cases, if it's a really high performance kitchen, they have to use a board that can be, I don't agree with that because people have been cutting and serving on wood for 1,000 years, and the wood actually retards the growth of certain nasty bacterias. But according to the FDA, you have to be able to put them in a dishwasher. So our boards don't do well in a dishwasher, but they're very, very, if you keep them clean and wipe them off and, occasionally feed them with some oil, they're very sanitary. Wood has a intrinsic ability to retard the growth of that's been tested in labs, retard the growth of E. coli and salmonella and things like that.
I think there was a study, Malcolm, right,
Yeah.
between plastic and wood, that the plastic
They
industry.
commissioned the study,
Yeah.
assuming it was just going to make wood look like a danger.
Well, I mean, if you don't clean plastic or glass or anything, it's not going to be sanitary if you don't clean it.
But wood has some absorbent qualities, plus it has tannic acid, among other things in it, which tends to retard the growth. So this test that was done at the University of Wisconsin, they inoculated wood boards and plastic boards with, really unpleasant things like salmonella and E. coli and bacteria. And the results started coming in the wrong way, that the wood was showing less growth of these than the plastic. So they canceled the test. But we got wind of it in the wood products industry, so we've used it in our own promotional.
So there's so many visitors that J.K. Adams gets. Is there a number or a statistic how many visit a year in the course of a year over at Dorset on Route 30?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that I've got that answer.
I'm assuming it's in the thousands.
Oh yeah,
right?
no, we just that last weekend when we had the Memorial Day, we do this annual tent sale where we open up the factory seconds and let the public buy them. We saw about 450 people and just over the weekend alone. So that gives you an indication of how busy we.
That was just sales.
Well, that's how many people
Made a
went through
purchase.
the register.
And there
But
was
in the past 20 years, especially,
Oh,
the internet
yeah.
and websites are so vital to sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so how would you describe the business which comes via the web and the internet in comparison to the person who visits the store to buy?
Sure. So we've kind of expanded both, Danny. So with the store, having one store in Dorset and counting on people driving up Route 30 and stopping at a big building that looks like a factory. So we expanded and opened a satellite store at the Vermont building in Manchester with Vermont Flannel, Vermont Teddy Bear, and Danforth Pewter. So we're there. And then we did a very similar thing in Waterbury with those same brands. And we just opened in Saratoga on Main Street, and we call it JK Underground. It's inside of Silverwood Gallery on Broadway. So that's a way to kind of expand the retail end where people can physically touch our boards. That's the best way to buy a board, is pick it up and hold it, see the weight, the size. The internet part of it, We have continued to grow that. We definitely have a worldwide, or definitely a customer across the United States. We were featured on Good Morning America on Leap Day, February 29th, and that introduced us to, I think, about 1,200 new customers signed up for. We got new emails, if you will. And then we were just featured on The View last Monday,
Right.
and that generated a lot of business and a lot of eyes on it. Malcolm even had his cousin reach out from New York
I haven't
saying,
talked to her in 40 years, and she said, "Wow, I forgot about you guys. You're still alive. Send me some boards."
So another aspect to your enterprise, it must be a challenge to recruit craftspeople who are talented and skilled and who want to dedicate this as a livelihood, as a career, right? It's got to be a challenge in
I mean,
today's world.
it's
right?
going to be really hard to the unemployment rate is so low here in Vermont. It's like 2.1%. So we're not going to like put an ad in and get a bunch of people to come in. So we've worked with the local high school, Burton, and we're open to all the high schools in the area to send some interns in. So each semester they sent a student who worked, it doesn't sound like a lot, but 1 hour on a normal day, and they have like a flex day where it was 2 hours. It's about 5 to 6 hours a week, but it's great for them to learn the craft and decide if that's what they want to do for a career. We've also worked with an operation called Hatch Space. It's an organization run by Tom Bodett out in Brattleboro, and they're working with people going through addiction recovery. And the goal is we're calling it a recovery board. So we take a board that we viewed as a second, like there was a blemish to it, so it wasn't perfect, versus trying to cut the wood and rework it. We donate it. They have a craftsman that's learning about the skill of woodworking, and they're going to turn it into a board and sell it, and the money's going to go to back to a charity. And we're hoping that in the end, they're going to develop people that are good at this and want a job, and we're going to have a pipeline of some new woodworkers.
So what would you say to people that might have an inkling that they might be interested in this? What would you say to them about joining J.K. Adams?
Well, what I see is, we've sort of watched over the last, in my lifetime at JCAM's 50 years, there's been a sort of a nationwide focus on electronics and internet and, information technology, and a trend away from the manual skills. Schools no longer have shop courses in many states and towns. Yet there are people that would prefer to work with their hands and their head, not just sit at a keyboard. And we attract those kind of people. That these people are, they're intelligent, they're intuitive, but they're actually working with their hands and working with machinery, as well as most of our equipment is often tied into, some sort of electronic technology.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people, once they discover it, we find people they're very happy working in this environment. And we're fortunate in having people that have been with us for 30 and 40 years to mentor and train new. So we have a couple of people that have recently arrived and settled in, and there's definitely a shortage of people arriving with skills on board, but we can train them pretty quickly.
So, there's a universal complaint in America about companies like J.K. Adams, the amount of fraud, the amount of knockoffs, patent infringement, and how little our government does to combat this illegal activity, right? I mean, it's not only J.K. Adams, but many manufacturers of products.
I mean,
So it's definitely a problem, and it's been going on for a long time, and we've sort of accepted it. And our approach is to try to come up with we've been innovators for 50 years, and we try to come up with a new product and get a few years or months of unique sales before it gets copied. And everybody suggests we get patented and then defend the patent, but a patent's nothing but a license to sue, and then you have to sue some company in China. And as you said, the FDA, or no, the Federal Trade Commission, I guess, is the one behind that would help you out. And they say, we'd love to help you because we see your patent's been infringed upon, but we got a problem with Apple and General Motors and so we don't, it's hard for us to get much help from the government. And so we see our products, we're innovators for the world, and then we've sort of come to accept it, just try to stay one step ahead with good designs.
So a consumer who wants a J.K. Adams board, okay, how do they reconcile that and
Yeah.
be careful that they're getting the real thing?
Our name is on every board.
It's burnt into the.
They haven't started doing that yet,
Yeah.
copying our logo.
Well, that's the thing is when it's stamped with J.K. Adams, it's guaranteed for life, and that I think as a consumer, if you're gonna pick a board that looks like J.K. Adams but it doesn't say J.K. Adams, you're buying it for as long as it lasts. A J.K. Adams board, if there's any issues, we'll repair it, we'll replace it, or refund if someone's not happy with it.
In our remaining minute or two, I know that J.K. Adams has a new product or two for 2024, right?
Yeah.
We do.
So we've got some great new products that we just that we launched at the beginning of the year. We've got a few more coming out. We're proud of our partnership with Laura Zindel, who's a potter in Brattleboro, and we're using her designs. We burn it into the wood, and we've continued to grow that. Certainly would encourage people to look at that. And we've been doing more and more with the finer woods. So things that were only in maple are now in walnut and cherry. So if you're looking for a wood board, there's lots of choices.
We're in 2024. A crystal ball prediction from each of you, and 10 years from now on the 90th anniversary, 2034.
I'll probably be in a wheelchair here, but I'll be here. And, Adam's got a lot of new ideas, and I'm in no hurry to see anything change. I'd love to see this business continue on for another generation, just because I think it's valuable for the town. It's all I've known. My father bought the business and had his first child and bought a house in Dorset all in a 1 month period. So it's all I've ever known. But I'm actually proud of the fact that we make a quality product out of renewable resources. And I see no reason why it can't go on. It's going to have to change with the times, but that's why I've got a young kid running the place now that can see the future and more clearly than I.
We've been talking with Malcolm Cooper Jr. and Adam Sigel, the two leaders of J.K. Adams, an 80-year-old celebrated enterprise, family-owned enterprise in Dorset, Vermont. And I want to thank you both being here for us today. This is Danny Frank for GNAT-TV.